it's kind of turning our attention, as we do with some regularity, towards university policies and how crazy and out of proportion some university policies are becoming nowadays. At Tennessee State University, now, quote, whistling in a suggestive manner, end quote, can get you kicked out of school completely or fired if you are an employee of the school. So your basic wolf whistle, which, can any of y'all do that well? This Swami can't.
I've always been shit at it.
There you go. But, you know, some of those guys have that thing where they put their fingers in their mouth and it's like you can hear it a block away.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
My mother can do that.
All right.
Yeah.
We should get her on the phone.
I can do it because a gorgeous girl's just walked in the room.
Fine, back, fine. God, I hope that was her.
Yeah, I hope that's fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, Tennessee State University warns against whistling in a suggestive manner on the grounds it may constitute sexual harassment.
Yeah.
A policy that has helped earn it a red light rating from one of the nation's premier college watchdog groups. The public university in Nashville currently holds this red light rating from the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education for several of its policies that effectively allow officials to punish various forms of free speech as harassment. Among them, the public university's discrimination and harassment policy warns employees and students that whistling in this suggestive manner could get them sanctioned, including being expelled or fired if officials deem the whistle to have been sexual harassment. Other examples of possible sexual harassment listed under the policy include suggestive or insulting sounds, suggestive or obscene gestures, unnecessary touching or brushing against the body, jokes about sex inside and outside the classroom, and more. In sum, there are a total of at least 20 different ways students and employees can be found guilty of sexual harassment, according to this new policy. Campus officials state they will consider the, quote, totality of the circumstances, end quote, before deeming whether an act is sexual harassment. Multiple attempts were made to speak to the university's Title IX coordinator to ask whether suggestive whistling was a significant problem on campus. These requests were ignored. In addition to the university's ban on suggestive whistling, the policy is being criticized for prohibitions on jokes, humor, and, quote, inappropriate communication, end quote. Reminds me of the atmospheric drops from a while back. Campus free speech issues have been in the news frequently over the past few years, and sexual harassment has often been at the center of it. Northwestern professor Laura Kipnis was recently forced to fend off a Title IX investigation in response to an essay she wrote about sexual paranoia on campus. And J. Martin Rochester, a professor at the University of Missouri, St. Louis, was subject to a Title IX investigation for having vehement disagreements with female coworkers. The end.
You want to add your...
So moms and dads just, rush little Jimmy or Jane off to that university so they learn all this good stuff.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome.
Howdy.
What's up, Fi?
I wasn't insulted by the whistles.
Good.
I took them in the context they were meant.
Well, this occurs on campuses at the very time that these human beings are at their peak of performance, of looks, of experimentation. So why bother them about it?
Eugenics.
Mm.
Stop breeding. Fuck's sakes.
And what you were describing there, how they're saying what the law that they're sort of coming up with, because I was just saying to Steve quietly, so you can hear it, that what they were describing as this law was just what you might do as common sense, that you might, you take one thing individually and look at it, and if someone's, literally harassing somebody and being a pest, then all right, that's not nice. That is unwanted sexual attention, and okay, you don't want that. But if, like you say, there are young people at their peak, and they're looking to meet other people at their peak, and
Right.
this is where they're looking to make the connections, and it is somewhat fumbling and bumbling at that time, and so the flirtatious behaviour may sometimes come across as being awkward, and if misinterpreted, may come across as being harassment. And I just think it's drawing up a law to kind of take into account over misinterpretation of flirtatious behaviour, or or the awkwardness
Right.
of youth, just
Right.
seems a little bit ridiculous.